Well, I'm on the farm today and thought I'd do a July hay update. The creek is mighty low. Today is July the 24th and it looks like August the 24th. If a couple more rocks would come up, I would have stood on that side of the creek and videoed that big rock. But I'm not ready to slip and slide across to make a haying video. It's not been too hot today. The hot weather's going to come next week. It's been a little breeze. You can see the flags blowing just a little bit. Got the Vermeer sitting over here, and the old bush hog, it's a Hardy, and the old New Holland, which is a coon tedder, future project. TR90 Lely 300 combi. What's not here is a crippled up kicker wagon that's been sitting here all winter and all spring, waiting on me to do something to it. And I finally did something. I moved it out of the yard into this hay field. Like I mentioned, we've been baling hay, and I thought I was going to need it maybe for about 50 or 60 bales. And don't adjust your screen. The racks are leaning in that direction. This rack is an embarrassment and needs to be rebuilt. Somebody has stopped up there at the road on the highway, and some kid ran out of the truck up the road like a gazelle. Might walk up there and see what's going on. Massey 1105. Got a potential issue with that one. Seal on the radial pump. There'll be videos on that. It's not giving me any trouble yet, but I think it's inevitable. The Chrome 2801 CV. Looks like some debris fell off the trailer. I thought maybe they were stopping to see the Trump flag right there below the American flag. There they go. I don't know if you can see them or not. So this is our east field, and it's essentially done. We baled hay on it today, and because I don't have a lot of family help this year, you know, I've taken it in smaller chunks, went around and around and made some hay, and then I took half of what was left on this half, going back and forth, and baled, and then I did the same thing down on the far side, baling hay today. But I thought I was going to need another kicker wagon, and that's why I rolled out that junker. I thought I might need to throw 50 or 60 bales on it, but I didn't, which is probably a good thing. They're calling for favorable weather next week, but it's going to be really hot, and I'm going to be cutting some gleaner hay out of here and all around the edges of these fields. Might break out the sickle mower for that. This stuff right out in here will be cut for gleaner hay too. That used to be a magnificent garden, and it may return to that here in another year or two. The Model 32 7-foot Pitman driven Massey Ferguson is what I'll use most likely to cut the gleaner hay. It's a good machine. Need to do some bush hogging down in that orchard. We'll get to that at some point. We have cut and baled our west field, and which includes this spot right here, and then our bottom field, which goes out along the edge of those woods, and we've got videos we put out on that. I think there might be one more on the bottom field. And right here's some gleaner hay out there at the end of the field. I don't know if you can see it, and along the edges. And normally we would go into that corner and cut, but it takes a fair amount of time to drive big equipment into these small corners. So we've chosen not to do that this year, instead saving it for another day, like I say, for gleaner hay. And we sell gleaner hay. Horse people buy it, you know. People with cows and goats, they especially like it, goat people, because we mark it down, and sometimes it's actually pretty good. There's the flags I was talking about. I've been waiting for somebody from the other side to come down and either rip it down or replace it with one of their own. So much for tolerance and freedom of speech. I don't hold no grudge. I feel do as you wish, settle it at the ballot box. So if we get our gleaner hay in, we'll be finished with everything, as we like to say, below the road. And then we're going to move up on the hill, and we're going to try to cut a goodly chunk of hay up there, our high field up there. But there's a lot of gleaner hay that we're going to take up there. That would be above the road. So you can see that a second cutting at best would be thin, and right down here where we baled today, and I apologize for the wind, but down here where we baled today, it's just crispy dry. And really our second cutting is rolled into the first cutting. We're so late cutting, and it's because of rain. And you say, well, if rain's keeping you out of the hay field, why is everything dry and the creek low? Well, the reason is because we get a shower for about 15 minutes every 2 or 3 days. It's just enough to mess everything up. So it's pushed us out here into July and probably into August cutting hay. So we're just kind of taking what we can take, and really our eyes are on 2022 at this point. So we're not fertilizing after this cut or any of our first cuts this year, and we're not putting down any herbicide. All of that stuff to help make a nice second cut, and maybe if it clicks, get it cut and off the field for a third cut. And so we're so far into the summer that I don't think I want to spend the money on fertilizer, and it's so dry I'm not sure the reward would be there. It just seems kind of risky to me to fertilize when it may be dry right on through August, and you know, the urea that you put down evaporates or burns up your field, or both. Now, as far as herbicide goes, the thought there is herbicide are typically a pre-emergent, and we're going to do one of two things in these fields. One field may get one treatment, another field might get another, but we're either going to kill everything you see here in some of our other fields and start over, or we're going to overseed and you know, hope to thicken up the grass and you know, get some seed on some of these thin spots. But I prefer Timothy We got a lot of fescue in here that just has grown in naturally. There's a seed bed that's just been here forever. And there's a lot of orchard grass. And it bugs me. I haven't planted any of the orchard grass or fescue, or Timothy has pretty much been wiped out. And but our primary target horse customer is one that has metabolic issues, insulin resistance, laminitis, Cushing's, those kind of things. And fescue is kind of a no-no. The toxicity of fescue can cause circulation problems in the feet of a horse, as I'm to understand. But, you know, I'm not sure that it's really that big of a problem. I can't find it, but I've read about it in Progressive Forage, and there's I think University of Mississippi did a study on toxicity in fescue and endophyte infected fescue as dry hay. You know, it's one thing to graze hay. It's another thing to feed dry hay, and I'll explain. So the toxicity of fescue is concentrated in two places. One of them is right down here at the ground, like within the first, 3 inches maybe. Well, we cut it a 4 to 5 inch stubble, so we leave that behind. The other place for endophyte toxicity is in the seed heads. So if you cut it before it goes to seed, then you've eliminated that location for toxicity. And again, if you cut at a high stubble height, you've kind of eliminated that. So the interesting thing about the study, and I think it was the University of Missouri that did it, is they said that after about 30 days to 60 days, whatever toxicity is in the plant goes away. I shouldn't say goes away. It's dramatically reduced, 30 to 60%. And so you eliminate the stuff with a high stubble. You cut it before it goes to seed, and then whatever might be in the stem and the leaves, doesn't sound like it's concentrated too heavily there. After the hay sits in the barn, for 30 days or more, the toxicity plummets. I want to say 30 to 60%. The problem is trying to convince some of these horse people that there may not be a problem. It's kind of like clover, I've seen horses, and I've talked to people with horses, and one of the difficulties in selling hay to a horse customer, and believe me, I have some great horse customers, but of course I'd like to expand, and but I'm just kind of speaking in general, not really of my customers. So if some of my customers are listening or watching, I'm not talking about you. But the clover has a reputation for making horses slobber. I don't know, maybe they foam at the mouth. I'm not really sure the extent of it, but there's a mold that gets on clover, like red clover, and it causes that. My understanding is it's completely harmless. It's just something that happens when they eat it. Well, on the flip side of that, I had horse customers tell me that they don't have any problem with clover. In fact, one guy described it as candy. And then I've seen horses turned out in a paddock, and they were leaving the grass. They were nibbling. It was amazing how they would just nibble away from a clump of grass and the clover, and they just ate it and ate it and ate it. The problem with clover is many horse customers or potential horse customers have been programmed that clover is bad. So if you're making horse hay, then you know, you need to eradicate your field of clover, which we've done. Else, you know, there's something wrong with it. Their horse will slobber. Fescue, on the other hand, I get it that in a mare that's pregnant, it causes issues with, you know, having little baby horses. And I understand that whole issue right there, and I would agree 100%. You know, you really don't want to feed pregnant horses fescue because there are documented issues. The problem I have is if you can grow fescue in these mountains and in some of these areas where it's really well drained and dry, fescue seems to be hardy, and it's a good forage to grow. You know, fescue fields can last, I mean, they can last probably 20 or 30 years. And I'm not talking about fescue, planting 100% fescue, but having a mixture of fescue and orchard grass that would mature at the same time. And so it would be a blend. But the fact that somebody has a horse with metabolic issues, they've been programmed that fescue is bad. They will not consider the idea that you've eliminated the lower part of the stem, where when they graze, they'll take it to the ground. And the seed heads, which you can cut before they come in. And so fescue, just like clover, is a no-no for these horses with metabolic issues. So to eradicate the fescue, we need to kill the field. And we probably need to plant something next year, like maybe teff grass. I'm not real sure. I'm thinking about it. In order to, whatever comes up from seed, we can kill it again in the fall. So we might need to rotate this out into some kind of an annual. Certainly we're not going to do row crops like corn or soybeans. But the fallout of that is that we would grow straight Timothy again, like we've done in the past, and it's expensive. It's labor intensive. I'm not sure if we have the cereal rust mite, but we would begin spraying for that, and it's another pass across the field. And so there's between the expense of replanting the field, and my time is worth something too. So I guess what I'm saying is we're going to have some mixed grass hay on this farm for people that don't want to pay necessarily premium. But if this field becomes straight Timothy, it will be an expensive bale of hay. But there won't be any clover in it. There won't be any fescue in it. It'll be forage tested. It'll be low in sugar, potassium, iron. It'll be excellent hay. But in order for that to pencil out and be worth the effort, we're going to have to charge an even higher price than we're charging now. But if that's what the customer with the metabolic issues demand, then that's what they're going to have to pay. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And if that don't work, then we'll go to a mixed grass hay with fescue and orchard grass primarily. And, you know, we'll just sell to the horses that don't have metabolic issues, and cows and goats and that kind of thing. But we want a quality hay. Timothy's kind of been our calling card, but it's, you know, there's only so many hours in the day, and there's a certain expense to it. And we need to have, with our horse customers, a symbiotic relationship where they realize that it's an expensive, time-consuming thing to grow feed that's compatible with their horse. And so they need to be willing to pay the price instead of going, well, you know, I really want straight Timothy, and I don't want fescue and clover, and I don't want this, and I don't want that, and I want it forage tested, and yada, yada, yada. And then they see your price, and then they go buy whatever the guy down the road's got that's fescue and orchard grass and who knows what else, lamb's quarter, at a lower price. So if the customer won't sustain the price it takes to make it worth our while to grow straight Timothy, forage tested, horse quality, square bales of Timothy, then we'll abandon that and we'll readjust and do something else. I thought this was going to be a short video, but I start talking and sometimes I can't stop. So let me try to get back on topic of what's going on here in July. My John Deere 5055D and the 348 baler we were running out earlier today, baling up the hay that's in these wagons. And this hay that's right in here and stacked over there, and stacked, there's a little bit of leftover hay right there, but back towards the to that far wall, hay that came off 3 wagons that were in here, and we rolled these 3 in. I got to stack this, and I'll chip away at that. This hay right here is tentatively sold. I've got a repeat customer that's supposed to come and get that, but I'm beginning to wonder. I have a you can take it to the bank customer that's going to buy this hay right here, and this fellow will absolutely come. If every hay customer was like him, life would be easy as a humble haymaker. Getting close to a flat tire down there. So here's the other side, and all of that hay, this is from a different field, and we try to segregate our hay, and we have forage tests for each field, and sometimes each cut within the field. I guess if I had to sum up our hay in one word here in July, it would be ripe. So, you know, the orchard grass and fescue has kind of turned brown, the stems, but interestingly, you know, you can see a lot of green in here. And what's going on is essentially our second cut is growing in, and so there's a lot of lush leafy grass that's actually in this hay, and it doesn't look too bad. We'll forage test this. It'll be interesting to see what the tests come back. I've got forage tests out for this hay right here, and waiting on it to come in. So out here in this little field, I had teff in here last year, and I didn't cut it. The weeds took over, and it went to seed, and I've got grass growing in here now. I swear I think it's teff, but the leaves look too rough, and they're coarse to be teff, and I'm thinking it's probably this stuff called purple top. I don't know if you can see that or not. Whatever it is, I sprayed herbicide on this back in the spring, so while there are weeds in here, it's not a jungle like it was last year. Last year it looked like that pile of trash right over there. So we think conditions are favorable next week. We're going to cut some gleaner hay, and we're going to cut this field. There goes a couple of deer down through there. We think we're going to just go ahead and clip this field and cut it and bale it up. Because our hay is kind of gone past prime, in our prime areas of cut. We'll probably mark it down some. It depends. It's kind of a supply and demand thing. It's kind of a, what do the forage tests come back looking like? If they come back and they're really not great, we'll probably mark it down some. So to cover that revenue loss, we want to make more basically cow and goat hay in square bales, and we can sell it, and we can do pretty good on it. We just don't make tip-top dollar like we do our other hay. So this will be it'll be gleaner hay, but it'll be nice and green. And so I'm going to cut that probably Tuesday of next week, and some other gleaner hay as well, and kind of looking for a dry stretch here to get some of this hay in. I'm in no hurry back across the hill to cut our high ground hay field, because you know, the longer I wait, the more this green stuff, essentially second cut, comes into it. And since I'm not going to make a second cut, I might as well wait on it. The only hazard of waiting is you start seeing some lamb's quarter and maybe a piece of milkweed coming in. Like I say, we're not spraying any herbicides because we want to either overseed or kill it and start over. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that. We're not going to go over the hill today, but I just wanted to kind of show you what's going on and talk about a few things. Krista Haven mentioned in one of the comments on my video regarding the pan kicker, he's got a New Holland baler with they look like conveyors. I think you know what I'm talking about, that shoots the hay out. And he mentioned that sometime when he had wooden wagons, once or twice maybe, I can't remember the exact quote, but he said in one of the comments to one of my videos that he would send a hay bale through a board on the back of the wagon, and that has happened with us as well. If you get just the right trajectory and just the right hit, you can snap a board in a minute. And this is our jury rig repair to get us out in the field with this wagon. DeHaven Family Farms, if you're not watching his channel, I would recommend it. While I'm doing a few shout outs here, I'll go ahead and mention a few others, and if I'll be missing a lot of people, so don't nobody get angry, okay? But K&H Tractors, he's down in Southwest Virginia. He's got a great YouTube channel. One channel that I think you ought to be watching and commenting on is Michigan Hay Sales. He's the real deal in the hay farming business. We're just a little itsy thing going on here after a full-time day job. And there's another new channel. I guess they're new, but they're trying real hard. I'll do a shout out for them, and that is Humphrey's Homestead. Check them out. They've been making some hay, and they got some other activities going on, and I think they do a nice job with their presentation. Denny's Country Life, he's really good. And y'all know all the big names, so I don't know that I need to mention them. That's the hay update for July. We've been kind of busy here on the farm. Hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate you kind of tagging along with us. I got a lot of videos that have been made before this one. This is July 24th, like I said, but I wanted to put this one out, and but it's kind of coming in front of some older videos, but I wanted you to just see what was going on at this point in time. So hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment, hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.